A while or just passing through, this door is open to you. Come and let's be silent. Come and share a hug. Come, let's pray together. Come love and be loved. From the blissed out to the turned out, from the pampered to the abused, this door is open to you. Come on in, come on in, come on in, come on in. The God in us recognizes the God in you. Whether you're black or white or gay or straight, Christian, Buddhist or Jew, this door is open to you.
Good morning, Claremont Center for Spiritual Living. How are you this beautiful Easter morning? Wonderful. Yeah. Welcome. I'm Reverend Tracy Earlywine and delighted to welcome you here. And if you happen to be joining us for the first time, either here in the room or out online, please know that wherever you are on your spiritual path, you are welcome here with us. It is good to come together in community and remember the greater truths of life, to remember that there is love and more love, whether we're feeling it in the moment or not. We can know it for each other. And when we are surrounded by those who support us, we flourish. And isn't it good to have some place to go where you know love is just a given? So here we are. Thank you all for coming, and I'm just so happy to see you. And let's all say hello to those of you out there joining us online. So our practitioner this morning on platform is Brad Weathern. Brad will do our opening invocation and also a short reading for us. And in the musical corner, we have Jeff on keyboards. And we welcome the Jacksons. Yay! Let's see. We have beautiful flowers. Some of these, Regina, are these your garden? Where are you? Yes, are they from your? Oh, aren't they beautiful? The lavender. So when you get a chance, just come by the front of the sanctuary on your way out and touch the leaves and then smell your fingers. Oh, life is good. Life is good right here, right now, all the time. So let's begin, shall we? Let's start with a little bit of centering. So I'm going to invite you, wherever you are, to clear your laps, clear your minds, take a deep breath, and let the sound of the bowl take you within. Just let that tone resonate, bringing your breathing into your heart space, reminding you that within is the sanctuary of love and joy and peace and oneness.
As we are in that frame of mind that Reverend Earlywine just gave us, let's know now that there is one power and one presence in the universe, and that we are one and part of that one mind and that one power. It is so good for me to be up here this morning. I feel so great on this Easter Sunday, a time of rebirth and a time of understanding for all of us. I love every single moment of my being here. Yesterday, I did not feel well. Today, I feel perfect. Somehow coming together with like minds makes that possible. So let's give thanks now for all who are not here, and wherever they are in their perfect place, and let's know that we are in our perfect place. So feeling this now, I accept it. I accept everyone here, and I am very happy to say, and so it is. Thank you. Well, I was I was seeing some interesting things. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see such a good, full Easter group. It always reminds me of when I was a boy. I was a Lutheran, and what happened on Easter was that's the week we got our new suits. Every year. And we got a new one every year. And my sister got a new dress every year because we outgrew the one before us. And that's the way it is. And that's the way it is now because we're here for rebirth. And there's a question that was written down here. It's, what do you call an Easter bunny with fleas?
Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny. This guy's pretty good. Okay, so where does the Easter bunny get his eggs from? An eggplant. I'm telling you, we ought to hire him. Even if he didn't know music, I think he's good. Thank you very much. It's always good to have something light. I have a reading today, and I'll hop right to it here. This is Ernest Holmes' lectures, and this is by Georgia Maxwell. And I told you a week or so ago about Georgia Maxwell. Georgia Maxwell is Hoagie Carmichael's sister, and she is the one that he wrote the song Georgia on My Mind for. And she edited this book, and it's a book of when Ernest Holmes was in the High Sierras, before he was at Asilomar. How many have been to Asilomar? Well, this was before Asilomar, and they called it the High Sierras, I guess, the meeting. But anyway, this is a little reading that I have from this, and it's called The Sermon on the Rock. The 300 or more people who attended the religious science summer seminar at Camp Sierra will never forget the very stirring message Dr. Holmes delivered before the assembly on the last evening of the conclave. No recording could be made of his talk, but the words are indelibly written in the hearts of those who were present. On a mammoth rocky ledge in the High Sierras above the little mountain village of Big Creek, where the group gathered to listen, Dr. Holmes stood with the majestic, pine-clad mountains as a backdrop and the slanting rays of the setting sun forming a canopy overhead. The hymn of praise and love and dedication which flowed from his heart was a fitting benediction to all who heard it. Small wonder that we were reminded of the eternal truths proclaimed in the Sermon on the Mount. Our leader and founder compared the strength we had received during the week to the strength and power generated in the nearby electric power plant. And just as it served the valley below the mountains with its vast stored up energy, did he charge us to go down into the valleys and carry the vision we had received and to impart the strength we had been given to others, to the end that our message of truth and love and faith would spread to the whole wide world. Nothing of the eternal beauty of this week can ever be lost, he assured us. Therefore, let us descend into the valleys with singing and thanksgiving, and let us henceforth live our lives so that, as Jesus said, men may see our good works. And that is for all of us today to realize on this rebirth Sunday, on this Easter Sunday. I'm so happy to be here. This is Ernest Holmes. I'm Brad Weather. Thank you very much. And thank you for allowing me to be here.
Good morning and happy Easter. It's so good to be here with all of you this morning. Our first song that we have to share with you is called What a Joyful Day. What a joyful day. I hear spirits sing. I can hear the song in everything as a bird takes flight above the ocean waves. There's an unseen wind to help them on their way. It's deep in me and it's deep in you. It's everything we are and everything we do. It's all we can imagine and beyond all we can see. Spirit's always there, Spirit inside me. If I could tell the world what I've come to know, that the time we have is neither fast or slow, 'cause the Spirit is, and so are we, together as one for eternity. It's deep in me and it's deep in you. It's everything we are and everything we do. It's all we can imagine and beyond all we can see. Spirit's always there, Spirit inside me. So I'll walk my path, and you'll walk yours too. Receive the gifts that are laid out for you, and with grateful heart and peace of mind, you'll sing your song, and I'll sing mine. It's deep in me, and it's deep in you. It's everything we are and everything we do. It's all we can imagine and beyond all we can see. Spirit's always there, Spirit inside me. Spirit's always there, Spirit inside me.
Thank you, Jeff.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And thanks, Jeff, for the little piano there. We got to hear you play. Nice. How blessed are we? All right, so let's light our candle this morning. And we're lighting our candle for the light of love. Just as nature takes us from winter into spring, from darkness to light, from death to new life. This light of love is the candle, the eternal flame that burns within each one of us and which is ever present in all that we do. So my title today is Rising in Love. And I want to start with a little bit from April Moncrief. She wrote a book called The Principles of New Thought. And she's, today is all about the resurrection. And she says, we move away from viewing the resurrection as a singular historical event and begin to comprehend and celebrate resurrection as a process that is going on within us now and at all times, restoring us to our original estate of wholeness and perfection. There's already truth within us which we rise up to, which we return to, which we reclaim. The word resurrection is to rise again. It comes from the word surge, resurge. And surge is to rise and roll forcefully. So there is power in this idea of us rising into the truth that we are. To really begin to understand that what we let go of, what we die to, even our physical death from this world, is not an ending, it is a transformation of life, taking on a new form, transforming. And this transformational process is the process we are in all the time, every day, as we grow and deepen and expand. And even in our constrictions, our fears, our conflicts, our traumas, we are still growing. We are still always reaching for that light, always rising up. And what our spiritual practice does is it allows us to choose to rise consciously. It allows us to make choices which support life. We support ourselves, we support each other, we support the planet. We support this idea, this knowing that love is the power that heals, and love is the very energy of life. And that causes us all to rise. Ernest Holmes reminds us that we all have the ability to transcend previous experiences and rise triumphant above them. And that's what this is, resurrection. It's as Marianne Williamson says, it's life reasserting itself. It's self-correcting. So that even when the forces of death and darkness have temporarily prevailed, life will continue, like a flower growing through the cracks in broken cement, like the peace of mind that emerges after long periods of deep grief, or people continuing to fall in love in times of war. Love always has the final say. Jeff Kober talks about this paradox of the facts of our lives, right? The circumstances we find ourselves in, the things we try to figure out and we want to fix and that we want to make better, and this very human experience of being in the world. And he reminds us that we can get stuck in the doom and gloom of that. We can watch the news all the time. We can have friends that always tell us about what awful thing happened in the neighborhood last week. We can be the person who talks about the awful thing that happened in the neighborhood last week. Not with a sense of healing, but with a sense of despair and hopelessness and judgment and criticism and all those things you wish nobody ever gave to you. Or we can choose to look forward in life knowing that the universe, or life, or God, or love, or spirit, or by any name, is going to be there to lift us up again. Because that's the task of life, is to lift up, to thrive, to grow. And if it's the task of life, then it's my task in life, and it's your task in life. Lifting up is to align ourselves with the love and law that is the truth of the universe. And hopefully we learn to do it with a little extra ease and grace each time we rise. When I am uplifted, I uplift all of life. You all know people who by their very nature lift you up. Just being in their presence is enough to give you a little boost. You know, I want to be that person. You want to be that person. And when we don't have it for ourselves in any given moment, we want to be around the people who do emanate that sense of love and growth and expansion. So there's a story that I came across about a man who was afraid to fly. And he talked about how, he would drink before, during, and after the flight just to get through it. And that he had a friend who was a pilot who offered to take him up in his Cessna. Now, how many of you have ever flown in a small plane before? It's way different than flying in a big plane, right? You feel everything. But he trusted his friends, so up they went. And while they were flying, his pilot friend was explaining to him the aerodynamics, the laws of physics that were actually causing the plane to fly, to be held up by the air. And the pilot said, okay, here's what I'd like to do. I want to put the plane into a stall so that you can feel us falling off the air that is supporting us and getting back on. Now, if it were me, I probably would have said, are you kidding me? I probably would have said something stronger than that. But he had a little trepidation and he said, okay. So that's what the pilot did. He tilted the wings, he allowed the engine to stall, and the plane, the passenger said he could feel the plane fall off the column of air that had been supporting it. And then he felt the vibration of the plane when it landed again on the column of air that was waiting for it. He said, I could feel with my entire body the plane being held up. The light had been shed. The mystery of how tubes of steel could be hurtled through the air, such that it actually was safe to be in one, had been shown to me, and my fear vanished, replaced by excitement. We remember and learn from and embody, take into our physical selves the things we experience. And Jeff Kober, my Buddhist blogger that I love, is talking about this, and he says, like this column of air supporting the plane, the Veda tells us that beneath this apparent separate individuality of myself, there is pure consciousness. That what we might call our higher self. And this higher self has never been touched by anything I've done or anything that's been done to me. It's clean, it's perfect, it's pure, it's whole, it's complete. And this higher self is in truth what I am. Everything I think I know about myself, my thoughts, my feelings, ideas, opinions, judgments, are simply barriers standing in the way of me knowing the truth of who and what I am. When I let go, I do not fall into an abyss. Rather, I am supported. I am held up. There's a power within us, a knowing within us that is always present, that is forever underneath all that we think, say, and do, supporting us. And our spiritual practice is to be able to touch that, so to speak, to feel our feet on that foundation, so that we might move out into the world with less fear and trepidation and anxiety, so that we might be curious and try new things, so that we might grow and not hold ourselves back. When we have an experience that reveals truth to us, that power and strength within us, what it also shows us, because it's usually disguised as trauma, what it shows us is what we must let go of. What there is that is unlike love, that is ready to be released. Ernest Holmes says, we shall never triumph over these previous experiences while we persist in going through old mental reactions. In other words, if we keep thinking about that old stuff the way we always have, we will not be able to rise above them. The thing is, we have to be willing. We have to be willing to step back and see things differently. We have to be willing to go up in the plane and let someone show us a different way. We have to be willing to let go so that we might experience being caught. This is part of the story of Easter. This resurrection, this rising again. You know, before the great transcendent moment of appearing from the tomb as light, there was the dark night of the soul in the Garden of Gethsemane. And it's in the garden that Jesus went to, and he asked his disciples to come with him and to pray with him, because he knew he was going to be leaving. He knew what was coming. So he asked his disciples to come and pray with him, and they all fell asleep. They were no help at all. And how often do we think something from the outside is going to be there for us, when in fact it's really the inner journey that is at work? And in that night, he expressed a doubt, an unwillingness, asking God to take the cup from him, asking to be released or let go of from this experience which he knew was coming. And who among us hasn't had moments of, I can't do this, right? I can't do this. How can I can't. Take it away, make it go away. Somebody, please. And we do it anyway. And we get through it anyway. And even those folks that are out there sleeping around us, they really are there for us. But we are the ones taking the steps. We are the ones asking the questions. We are the ones willing to go through the process. Now, the name Gethsemane is no accident. The word comes from the Greek and the Hebrew, and it means oil press. It's what presses the olives to extract the oil. Now, obviously, pressing would be agonizing to go through. You're being crushed. But what's left when the pressing is done, are the oils, the unguents, the ointments, the salve. It's that which heals, is being extracted. And so no matter how pressing, how difficult, how heavy, how hard something is, what is always being expressed out of it is what heals us. We are called to continually grow, to be nurtured and nourished, to thrive, so that even in the pressing down and the pressing out, we are receiving that which heals. And love is the greatest healer of all. So when we have to give up something in the material world, in the physical world, when we are letting go of our cherished idols, whatever they may be, Downton Abbey eventually ended, right? And your pursuit of a particular career or a certain amount of money, or that your children would do wonderful things, may or may not all come true. Or even just the idea that you're going to go back to school this year and get your degree, and something happens that interrupts the flow. Anytime we are interrupted in the material world, we are always rising in consciousness for something and some way to become even more. Have you had the experience where something you thought you were going to do at this time didn't happen, but then later something even greater showed up? Or that career path you thought you were going to follow, you ended up way over here somewhere, and you are so happy. And if you ended up way over here somewhere and you weren't happy, have you found your way back? Because even that experience teaches us what we do love, what our gifts are, what our strengths really are. That all enlivens us to live our best life. So the trial, the distress is squeezing out of us the oil, the spirit, and the illumination, the understanding, the way of seeing, which allows us to rise. And so our challenge is to remember that there is always a power and a truth revealed within us. Our challenge is to remember that it's already present, awaiting our attention, awaiting an opening, awaiting our willingness to continue to step forward. And as we step forward, we can release whatever it is that's clouding our spiritual sight. The unholy trinity, blame, shame, and regret. Let it go. Let it go. It serves no one, least of all you. And when we let that go, we are no longer weighed down. Have you come through a traumatic experience in your life where afterwards you felt much lighter? Have you gone through a depth or a darkness or a sadness or a struggle or even just a good cry and come out the other side feeling lighter? Weight of the world is off your shoulders. That's when we rise. That is what rising up feels like. We are always supported by that consciousness underneath all things. We are always supported by that Christ consciousness, that consciousness of oneness with the greater power, which will always lift us up and which lives within us always. So when we rise, Emma Curtis Hopkins says, we are reaching for the upper room of consciousness. In other words, the higher perspective that allows us to see the big picture, the great good that is always happening, above and beyond what has been in the past, transcending all that has come before. Bell Hooks, author and poet, living life in touch with the divine spirit lets us see the light in all other living beings. That light is a resurrecting life force. That light that we are, that light that we see in others, is what recharges us, lifts us up again, moves us forcefully as we rise. And we do that for each other. Easter is not about the crucifixion. It is all about the resurrection. It's all about the incredible strength and beauty that rises up because of the challenge, the pressing. Jesus demonstrated that when we remember who we truly are, when it is revealed again to us who we are, when we overcome, when we release what doesn't work, when we overcome our own sense of littleness and separation, when we stop crucifying ourselves and others, we too can work wonders. We too rise again and spread healing and light in the world. Your resilience is your brilliance, and Easter is every moment you choose to step into the truth of you. It's that truth and that power within you that is love. And so we always rise in love. And one more thing. The Easter Bunny called. He said, what you are seeking is found within. Namaste. Let's take a moment in prayer, shall we? I invite you to close your eyes and take a breath. Taking a breath into that heart center, that sanctuary within where love always abides, where the light and the joy of living burns brightly. spreads easily, fills us to overflowing, that we might be the light of the world. That this life, which is lifting and uplifting all of the time, is the life that we are. Lifting up each other, being uplifted by one another, reminding ourselves of that dawn of new birth, that rising in consciousness which brings us to a higher place, a sweeter space, a place where there's room for all that happens in the world to be surrounded by love, to be healed through compassion and kindness, to be seen as simply part of the human struggle, with divine healing always possible. And so I speak a word this Easter Sunday for the light, for the rising, for the love that is ever present. I speak a word for those who are with us and those who are not, trusting and knowing that death is simply the transformation of life into a new form, a new expression, that the rising cannot be denied when love is present. And if love is God, then it is everywhere present. And knowing this brings peace. Knowing this brings a deep joy and comfort. Knowing that this unified consciousness which is below us all lifts us up. I release any fear of falling or failing, for I trust myself to be caught by the love that is. And I celebrate today. I celebrate life in all of its forms, those visible and invisible, those I can touch and those I can only feel. I celebrate this life, this love, this joy that is represented by this story of Easter as a light in my own life. And I pass this light on to all that I meet. I see it in the eyes of everyone I meet. I offer it through words of kindness and laughter and smiles. I offer it by my presence when there is trouble or struggle. I offer this love that I am everywhere I go. For this light, this eternal flame, burns brightly in my spirit and therefore in the world. For this and so much more, we are grateful. So blessed, so loved, so able to love. And I know that as I speak, my word goes out into the mind of God, the spiritual law, the perfect unfolding of principle, so that it is become visible in the world, that all that we are, all that we show up to be in the world is this light of spirit, and it is good and very, very good. I simply allow that to be, and so it is. In your program, you'll find an affirmation. I'll read it through a bit at a time and invite you to say it after me. This allows our online community to participate with us. So if you will, today I celebrate the light of the world. The awakening of a new consciousness in me and in all people. Love and peace shine forth. And so it is. All right, we welcome the Jacksons back up for a little rocking out.
Thank you, Reverend Tracy. Okay, well, on this beautiful, beautiful Easter spring morning, we have a little spring song for you next. It's called A Spring Song. I believe that every kind of flower in the world, every kind of creature, big or small, has an inner knowing of just when the seasons come. It's the knowing of the being in us all. Springtime is the time when everything will grow, everything will bloom from the seeds we have sown. I know every one of us will flower in the sun, 'cause springtime brings its joy to everyone. Through the year we plant our seeds, and knowing this is done, we cultivate and water every day. When the winter rains have stopped and clouds have rolled away, the sun comes out and it's a brand new day. Springtime is the time when everything will grow, everything will bloom from the seeds we have sown. I know every one of us will flower in the sun, 'cause springtime brings its joy to everyone. I believe that every kind of flower in the world, every kind of creature, big or small, has an inner knowing of just when the seasons come. It's the knowing of the being in us all. Springtime is the time when everything will grow, everything will bloom from the seeds we have sown. I know every one of us will flower in the sun, 'cause springtime brings its joy to everyone. Springtime brings its joy to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So you know that it is your love and contributions that create this community and allow us to do the work that we do. So thank you. Thank you for your giving. Thank you for offering your time, your talent, your treasure into this community that we all own, into this beautiful space that we call home. And I invite you to take your offering today and hold it close to your heart. And if, for those of you that are online and perhaps donating online, perhaps there isn't something in your hand, but there's always something in your heart. And say our prosperity affirmation with us. You'll find it in your bulletin if you're unfamiliar with it. Divine love through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. For those of you in the room, on your way out, there are baskets by the door where you may drop those. I also want to give a moment of gratitude just from my heart to yours. Most of you know that my mother passed a few weeks ago, and I have received an outpouring of love and cards and notes and texts and calls and gifts. And I have to tell you that I'm feeling simply loved and supported, and I'm in a really good space, you know, and you have a lot to do with that. And I want to acknowledge that and thank you all for that. It is what we do for each other here. And to, you know, for me, I talk about things a lot. I stand up here and say things, and sometimes I receive. And it is a very powerful, powerful thing to be willing to give and also to be willing to receive. And I am all the better for it. And I thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. I love you too. Yeah. We have invitations. Oh, look, we have one. Okay. So, Wednesday nights, we are back in person. How many of you were there on Wednesday for the Aloha Welcome Back? You'll notice the lei on the Easter hat today. That's no accident. We had a fabulous time. And if you've not been to a Wednesday night, I encourage you to come. It's a small group, there's a presentation, and there's always a conversation. So if you are interested in taking spiritual ideas and seeing how they show up in your own life, Wednesday nights is a great way to do that. So join us for a little prayer, a little conversation, always an interesting topic. We look forward to seeing you there. It's at 7 o'clock. Do come early. At 6:15, Nisa does a meditation, which is just delightful. It's here in the practitioner room, which is in the little downstairs room over here off the foyer. A little quiet meditation before you come into a lively conversation. It's a wonderful way to spend Wednesday evening. We hope to see you. We do have classes going on. We have a Meditation is More Than You Think. This is the second week coming up. If you have not joined and you would like to, this is the last week you may join. So if you are interested, please talk to me after service and we'll get you set up in either the morning online class or the evening in-person class. We meet on Thursdays, and if you're interested, come talk to me. We'll make that happen. Does anyone have anything else that I have not yet remembered? Okay, so I'm going to invite you all to stand up, move into a circle around the room. We're going to listen to, sing, and rock out to a little Eddie Watkins Jr. about love in the sanctuary.
Take a look at the person next to you and say, God loves you and I love you too. Now feel the love in the sanctuary.